Yeah, so we can get right into it. Let's get everyone. Today we're going to be doing the top 15 PPR running backs. So I guess we'll start with the first running back, Christian McCaffrey. Bearmack, how do you feel about Christian McCaffrey?
Clearly the number one pick in the league. I think he might end up best fantasy player of all time. I don't know. Just what he scored, like 470 points last year.
Yeah, I have here. He scored 471, which is the second best ever.
I think he finished like third in I think he's like second in receptions in the league. 1,000, almost 20 touchdowns. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also now they just brought in Joe Brady, my guy from LSU, represent. He helped with that college offense under Joe Burrow. I feel like he's gonna even elevate McCaffrey's game even more if that's even possible. And I think arguably this is like the first year that I don't think there's any argument for Saquon. I think McCaffrey's just in his own tier. That's how I feel. He averaged almost 30 points of PPR. So, All right, now number two. We both, I think, both our rankings. We have him number 2, Saquon Barkley. How do you feel about Saquon?
Big ass thighs.
Yeah, I guess I'll speak about it. What do you call it? Well, the biggest thing is that he went down from receptions from 91 to 52. But in reality, the guy only played 12 games basically because he was out against Tampa. He came out the first quarter. He had an high ankle sprain. Usually he came back 3 games, which is insane. They had him projected 6 to 8 games missed. But since he's such an animal in the weight room, his body's so strong, came back in only 3 games. He still managed to have over 1,000 rushing yards and over 50 receptions in 12 and a half games, which is impressive. And then over the last 3 games I have here, he averaged 31 fantasy points when he went on that big stretch. So I think Saquon Barkley easily the number 2 fantasy player, especially when it comes to running backs.
I agree with that.
All right, number 3, we have Zeke. Anything you want to speak about Zeke about?
Yeah, he's in one of the best positions for a running back. I think they feed the ball 5-yard line and in. I think he'll get most of the touches. I think he finished 2 last year, 3. He had 3, 12 touchdowns, north of 1,300 yards. It's pretty good. So.
Yeah, the thing about I feel like Zeke, he's the most – I even think more than McCaffrey and Saquon, just because he had no games under 8 fantasy points last year, which is crazy. He's the most consistent running back. He has a career average over his 4-year career of 20.9 PPR points, which is insane. 2-time rushing leader. And then they also bring in CeeDee Lamb, what you were talking about with the improved offense. I feel like he's going to get even more touchdowns, upwards of 15, and I feel like he can even lead the league in touchdowns with his opportunities.
Yeah.
So at number 4, we have it was actually tied, but between Dalvin Cook and Kamara because we both have him 5 and 4. But I'm just going to put Dalvin Cook first. So Dalvin Cook, I'm a big fan of his. Number 2 running back in points per game last year with 20.9. He had 13 rushing touchdowns in 14 games. He had 43% of his games over 24 fantasy points, which is insane. He's just a big upside guy. But the only thing that scares me is his injury, is that he hasn't played a full season. So how do you feel about that?
He got hurt late in the season. Obviously missed the last 2 games, but he played 14 games.
Yeah, he played 14 games. So it was really 13 and a half, but yeah.
In 7 games, he had 24 plus out of those 14. So I think he's clearly a top-tier running back from that. I would put Kamara, but I just think Latavius Murray affects Kamara a little too much to put him ahead of Dalvin Cook, who is arguably the best running back last year behind McCaffrey.
No, I agree with that. The only thing, how do you feel about this holdout? You think he'll get a contract, right? I don't think he holds out. I think the Vikings need him more than.
No, they got rid of Diggs. I think they have enough money to. They got rid of Griffin. Not Griffin. They got rid of Rhodes. They got rid of two other players. I think they're gonna sign him. If they don't.
I think anything 13, 14 mil would be perfect. I think he's going to get his contract. He deserved it. Even if he hasn't played a full season, he carried that offense. Even when he wasn't getting the ball, if you watch late in the season, I know I had him on my fantasy team last year. the whole offense with Stefanski would be the play action offense, the outside zone run. So even when he's not getting the ball, he's the focal point. So I think like he's worth way too much of that Vikings offense. So I think he gets a deal done. You have to worry about no holdout, I don't think.
Mm.
So then next, both on our list are Alvin Kamara. Obviously last year he had a big like down year or whatever when he went from 14 rushing touchdowns to 5. He was obviously hurt. He had a knee sprain and ankle sprain I have here. But the big thing I think why he's really good at PPR, he had 81 receptions in all 3 of his seasons. So I think it's pretty consistent. And I think he'll be easily – I can't see him finishing anywhere below like a RB1. So how do you feel about Kamara?
Yeah, I think he's like might be the last player in the top tier.
Yeah.
Probably going to average 20 points in fantasy if he's not hurt. Well, if you look at his, let's see. Yeah, 1, 2. Only 4 games above 20 points, but he's clearly capable of putting up 20 points every game.
I agree.
5 times.
I think the whole thing about Kamara last year, I think the injuries, and same thing with Saquon. Like, I think the injuries really like lingered them. Like, they should have missed more time, but they're just 2 like competitive ass players on some good offenses. So I just think I think next year, like this upcoming season, I think they really turn up both of them.
Kamara only missed 2 games, right? And those 2 games,
yeah,
put up like 36 and 32. He's in a great running back position to play for New Orleans, but he did lose. He could have had like 20 points in like 7 games if Latavius was not there. I feel like.
Yeah. Okay. Next on both of our lists is Derrick Henry. He lead the league in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. So how do you feel about Derrick Henry this year?
Big boy. He's just a bulldozer. What do you think?
Well, the guy, I think he literally carried that offense to the playoffs. They beat the Patriots. They ended that dynasty, but obviously now they got Cam Newton, so we'll never know. But obviously in the Brady era, he beat Brady, and then Derrick Henry carried them to beat Lamar Jackson, that insane Ravens team, which I think is very impressive. I'm just upset that he didn't get the contract that he deserves. Tannehill got a freaking contract, 4 years, $118 million. And he got the franchise tag, Derrick Henry, but I feel like he should have just got a contract. I think he's more
running backs. I know, but running backs, ever since the Todd Gurley deal, running backs aren't going to get paid that much.
I know. It's Todd Gurley, David Johnson. It's just like it's hard nowadays to pay a running back because they're so replaceable. I understand that.
I think Henry's only on a 1-year franchise deal. So
yeah, he is. That's what I'm saying. He can get it. This is obviously – he already proved it, but if he turns up this year yet again, he'll get a big deal. All right, next on both of our lists is Austin Eckler. I know you're a big Austin Eckler guy, so maybe you want to speak about him.
No, he's just the most efficient guy, bro. What do you have? I think he had 1,000 receiving yards last year.
Yeah, I think either that or a little under. I gotta check, but
no, he had 1,000 yards. He posted on Instagram how he got 1,000 yards. I don't know why it says 993 over here. That's odd. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, I have here he had 92 receptions. That was second next to McCaffrey and running back receptions. He got paid this year too, and Melvin Gordon's gone, so I think that his rushing, like he didn't have a lot of carries. I think he had like somewhere around like 130 carries last year. I think it goes up to like 170, 180, and that upside is gonna have him way more points. So I think top 7 running back, it's a steal. I feel like Austin Eckler in a full PPR league is a steal where he's going. If you can get him early second round and pair him with another like one of these running backs or even like a top receiver, I think it's a great deal.
I think he's going to end up top 3 in points. Without Melvin last year, first 4 games, he averaged like close to 30, like as many as McCaffrey. He was like the second best running back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was insane.
37 week 1. 23 week 2. 15 week 3, but then week 4 he put up 30.
Yeah.
He's going to be really good this year, I feel like. Especially, I don't think Herbert's going to throw the ball as much as like throw dump off passes to him.
Yeah. Next on the rankings. Well, you gotta tell me. What do you have Josh Jacobs on your rankings? I have to check. Where'd you put him?
He's top 10. I think he's like 8 or 9.
You put Jacobs at 9. Where do I have him? I have Jacobs at. Actually have Jacobs at 7. I have him. I think Josh Jacobs. I think he's amazing when it comes to rushing. I think he's gonna. He played in How many games did he play in last year? He played in. Missed a couple games. I think he had a little injury or whatever. He fractured his shoulder. He played 13 games. He fractured his shoulder, caused him to miss 3 games. Finished with over 1,100 yards, 4.8 yards a carry. The only thing that I don't like about Josh Jacobs in a full PPR league is that he only had 20 receptions, which is like obviously. And they also drafted Glenn Bolden from Kentucky, and they signed Devontae Booker. And I feel like Josh Jacobs, he's going to be amazing in the rushing game, and that's why I have him as my number 7. But I think that he's not going to get enough receptions.
Yeah, I like his O-line. His O-line's pretty good.
Yeah.
Just another good fit. He's proven himself a little bit, and I think he's going to get a good workload this year.
Yeah. Next on the list, we got Nick Chubb. I have Nick Chubb at my number 11. You have him at, I think, number 8? Let me check.
Mm-hmm.
You have Nick Chubb at number 8. How do you feel about Nick Chubb going into this year?
You love the league in rushing yards.
Second. He was second.
He was second. Who led it? Derrick Henry?
Yeah, Derrick Henry won 11 in touchdowns.
Nick Chubb was in the lead for like 10 weeks.
Yeah, he was. No, he was. But see, the thing about Derrick Henry, he just turns up second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Nick Chubb was second in yards, but he only had 36 receptions. The only thing that scares me about Chubb is that, I'm a big Kareem Hunt guy. But Kareem Hunt outscored Chubb in 6 out of the last 8 games in PPR format. So I think both – honestly, I feel like both of them are going to eat, though. Like, I feel like it's going to be an offense where both of the running backs cook.
I still think Chubb is going to get his yards, and he's going to be the main back in the red zone, get rushing touchdown. But, of course, the receptions might go to Kareem. But I don't know. I feel like that offense will be pretty well-rounded after they got Hooper, both their running backs back. I don't know. I think Chubb will have a good year.
All right, the last thing I want to say to Chubb, even though I'm a Browns fan, Nick Chubb had 15 goal line carries last year for negative 14 yards. He was actually the most inefficient running back on the goal line. So I don't know how you feel about that. But I feel like last thing, now let me say positive about him. They obviously got Kevin Stefanski as their head coach.
He had eight in one drive.
He had 8 in one drive. That probably. They got Kevin Stefanski, obviously, for the Vikings.
I have something to say about.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
You were talking about what'd you say about he was inefficient at the goal line?
I said he had 15 goal line carries for negative 14 yards.
He actually had 8 goal line carries in one drive against the Bills. That game, in one drive, it was a penalty. They rushed 7 straight times. There's 7, not 8. 5.
Right.
I remember watching it.
So, Bermac, bring up that point again. What were you talking about Nick Chubb? About the 8. He had one game. He had 8 goal line carries. You said against the Bucs.
No, Bills. Bills.
Oh.
It was actually one drive.
It was one drive.
Yeah, he had straight carries, got stuffed, and it was a penalty. And then he had like another 3 or 4, and it was pretty impressive by the Bills today.
I feel like Chubb is pretty consistent too with his rushing yards and stuff.
If you look at running backs like with their skill set, he's probably top 5.
I think personally, Nick Chubb is the best true runner. Okay, let me not say the best, but one of the best true runners. Yeah, he averages over 5 yards a carry, which is insane. So I think Nick Chubb's really good. Maybe I'm just hating because of the Kareem Hunt thing, but I still have him at running back like 11. I don't have him like that low. All right, next guy. I'm a big fan of this guy. Out of Penn State, it was Saquon's backup. Then he became the starter. Miles Sanders. I think Miles Sanders. I'm very big on Miles Sanders. I love him honestly because he literally only played 50% of the snaps the entire season, 52% I think, and he was so efficient about his snaps. He finished the second half of the season when Jordan Howard got hurt or whatever, and he took over as a starter. Miles Sanders, the last 8 games, was their RB6 in PPR. And now they got rid of Jordan Howard. They only got Boston Scott. I know Boston Scott's he's pretty good, honestly, but he was a 6th rounder, so I don't think he's gonna be that he's gonna get that much of the workload. And he actually had the most scrimmage yards among rookies, even above
Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs. So how do you feel about Miles Sanders going into this year?
I think I have him right after. I think I have him at 11.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be another good running back. He's going to have pretty much the backfield to himself. Not really much that else to say. He's going to run the offense with Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't know.
All right. Next running back, Joe Mixon. This guy in some drafts is going at the RB6, but we both have him below. You have him at 12. I have him at what do I have him 10?
10.
Yeah, but I don't Joe Mixon's really good, but I don't think he's gonna be anywhere above these guys. I can't say. How do you feel about Joe Mixon?
Well, the O-line's got to improve. They had I think one of the worst O-lines last year, even though they're getting 2 linemen back.
They're getting Jonah Williams back, the 1st-round pick.
I think one of them hasn't even played a snap yet.
Yeah.
He turned up in the end of the season, but his best game was week 17, 30 points. And
not even a fantasy season in our format.
He only had one other 20-point game in the season. He put up 17 5 straight games, but before that he had 5 games under 10 in the first 7 weeks. So
yeah, they do have an improved offense. Obviously, they drafted at number 1 Joe Burrow. Big fan of Joe Burrow. I think he likes throwing to his running backs. I think the offense has improved, but I don't think Joe Mixon has. I can't see him being a top 5 running back. That's just how I feel about him. All right. Next guy, Aaron Jones. I know you have him way higher in his rankings. You have him at RB 10. I have him at 14, so that makes him RB 12 in our combined rankings. How do you feel about Aaron Jones?
Well, he's tied for second most touchdowns, second in points last year. I just don't think he can't be in the top 10 after his last season. Even though they got a running back, I still think Aaron Jones will be the featured back. Jamal Williams put up, 9 fantasy points a game last year. So I think if anybody's going to be hurt by A.J. Dillon's being drafted, I think it's going to be Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams might be moved around. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to keep him, but I think A.J. Dillon will fit nicely right behind Jones.
I like Aaron Jones as a player. And I always liked Aaron Jones a couple years ago. Even now, I like Aaron Jones as a player. I just don't like how Matt LaFleur doesn't utilize him to his full ability. I don't understand how much Aaron Jones ate last year, and you're still going to draft another running back. I just think Aaron Jones is way too talented just for them to draft another running back. He did average 19.7 points a game, 19 touchdowns. Like you said, he was tied. The only thing that scares me is his goal line. I think he'll be efficient. He'll be good. It's just that
I think he's going to score most touchdowns on the goal line.
The thing is that I don't like about them drafting.
He had the most rushing touchdowns last year. Tied for first.
Yeah, he was tied for first. A.J. Dillon is 40 pounds heavier than Aaron Jones. I don't know if you know this. And he only had 13 receptions last year in college, which shows that they're not going to really use him as a reception back. More of reception backs are Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. I think that A.J. Dillon, if he gets touches, he'll be on the goal line and shit. But I think Aaron Jones is 100% going to regress his touchdowns. I don't think he'll have 19, but he can still have upwards of in the 10s. We'll see. And one last stat, we have Aaron Jones in 25% of his games had less than 8 points fantasy.
Yeah, that's the thing about Aaron Jones.
He'll win you a game, but then he'll lose you a game.
Well, yeah, he's what do you average? I think third most. He almost put up 20 points a game. I think he averaged
19.7. Yeah.
Yeah, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games under 10, which is pretty bad. But he had a 50-point game, 30, 40. He's just a bounce. He's like a yo-yo.
Yeah, listen, I think Aaron Jones, personally for me, I don't know how I feel about draft. I wouldn't draft him as my RB1. I don't think he's an RB1, but I think he's
the best RB2.
No, I agree with you. I think
honestly, I have the first pick, so I'm gonna go McCaffrey.
Listen, in our league that we play in with our friends, I think obviously if you have McCaffrey and then you got Aaron Jones, that's a good duo because then you have that crazy consistency with Christian McCaffrey, and then you have it with Aaron Jones. That combination with Aaron Jones and Christian McCaffrey can literally just on those two players win you a week.
Yeah.
All right. Next running back in our rankings, Carter Woods-Helaire.
Mm-hmm.
I have him a little higher. I have him at. I think we both have him. What do you have him?
I have him like 13.
13. I have him at 12, so he's 13 on our rankings. Kyle Woods-Helaire, loved him at LSU. I think the big thing about Kyle Woods-Helaire is that he had 55 receptions in college. And
Wait, what number are we doing right now?
We're doing 13. Kyle Woods-Helaire, 13.
I thought we were at 11.
No, we did Mixon 11. Jones was 12. Kyle's 13.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. So Kyle Woods-Helaire.
At 13.
Yeah, no, you had Fournette, but I had Fournette lower, so now he's RB14. That's what happened. All right, anyway. So Kyle Woods-Helaire, he had 55 receptions in college. I think the big thing is that Mahomes picked him. Like, they called him Mahomes, and they're like, who do you want? And he said Kyle Woods-Helaire. Like, I don't think that's like – to take a running back in the first round, obviously, I think Damian Williams – I think they'll split the backfield the first couple of weeks, but I think when it comes to the last 8 weeks, I think Kyle Woods-Helaire has that upside that can win you a fantasy league. I'd probably say in most leagues, I wouldn't draft him as my RB1, but if you draft him as an RB2 and pair him with a consistent RB1, I think it's a great pick. Or even if you don't draft him, when he goes down, like not when he goes down, but when Damian Williams competes with him for touches the first 8 weeks, I think that's when you should start trying to trade for him because I think he'll have you that league-winning upside. I don't know how you feel about Clyde, but you can speak on Clyde.
I think he'll be top 15, but I still think Damian Williams is going to affect him, keeping him at a top 10. But he could put up like 15 a game in PPR. I don't see him scoring 20. Damian, what do we have? Played 11 games, averaged 13 last year. I still think he's reliable, Damian Williams, but I don't know if Clyde is going to take over the whole backfield. I also have Darrell Williams, I think. What's his name?
Darrell Williams. See, if you don't know,
they have a bunch of young running backs too.
Yeah, but I don't think they don't really play. I think it's literally just going to be Damian Williams and Clyde. Next running back we have is Leonard Fournette. I think the big thing with Leonard Fournette is that last year nobody thought this would happen, but he went from having 22 receptions to 76 receptions, which is insane. He was really good in the passing game last year.
He only had 3 touchdowns.
That's what I'm going to say. He's very inefficient in the goal line, and that's not his fault. He has a really bad O-line, but like I don't see him like he can. I think he'll have a couple more. I think he'll have like 6, 7, maybe 8 touchdowns rushing, but I don't think. I think they're going to be down in games. I don't think the Jaguars, they have a terrible defense. I don't think they're going to have to pass the ball more. Fournette's going to be pretty solid. I have him at RB15, so it's not that bad. But, like, I don't see him as an RB1. And I don't see him having 76 receptions again. They also brought in Chris Thompson and Jay Gruden, both from Washington. So I think Chris Thompson's going to get more of the receptions while Leonard Fournette takes all the rushing work.
Yeah, I agree.
You agree with that? All right.
Yeah, but he was 7th last year, so I still
yeah.
think.
Yeah. But
I think he'll have like 50 receptions this year.
But one more thing. They try to trade the damn guy. Like, Leonard Fournette wants to leave. All his teammates left. He's trolling on – you probably see it on Instagram. He's trolling on Instagram with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You saw that meme, and then it's him in the middle.
It's empty room.
Yeah. No, I think Fournette wants to leave. I don't think he'll be on the Jags next year. I can't see it. So maybe they'll run him to the ground because of that, or maybe they won't use him as much. We'll see what happens. So last running back, I know you had Melvin Gordon and Chris Carson, but I really wanted to talk about Kenyon Drake, so I put Kenyon Drake at 15. I know you. I don't know where you put Kenyon Drake, probably at 17.
Actually, I put Kenyon Drake at 16. Chris Carson was 17. I don't know why.
All right, so we'll still talk about Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake, obviously, he got traded from Miami to Arizona in the middle of the season. They got Kyler Murray. They obviously added DeAndre Hopkins. I think he kind of broke out last year. Came to the Cardinals, and he ate. He had that game with 4 touchdowns against the Browns. He had 80% of the snaps, and I think he just had an overall good season towards the end of last year. I think he's a good low RB1, high RB2. How do you feel about Kenyon Drake?
Yeah, he had two really good games towards the end of the season, but he also did put up a 7, a 9. It's 10-14, pretty good, but I don't know. He's inconsistent.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. That's what I feel with that. That's why I said like an RB2. See, like guys like that, I don't know how you feel, but I think consistency in fantasy is key. Like I want an RB1 that's gonna produce week after week after week. I don't want a guy that's gonna have 20 points and 4 points and 20 points. Like I want a guy that's consistent RB1. RB2 is a little different because you're a little more flexible and stuff, so you can have more of a boom or bust guy. And I think Kenyon Drake will be like this. He's gonna have his big weeks when the Arizona offense is booming. They're throwing to Hopkins, throwing to Christian Kirk. They're throwing the ball around, and Kenyon Drake's getting his rushing touchdown. He also is really good in the receiving game. Pretty sure he had over 50 receptions. So I think Kenyon Drake, RB15, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
So any last things about Kenyon Drake or no?
No.
Not really? All right, so
No.
I think that really wraps us up with this video.
I also want to throw in an
Yeah.
underrated player this year, especially in PPR, Le'Veon Bell. He scored 10 plus in 13 out of 15 games he played. I think he's a reliable RB2 or flex, but if the Jets O-line and the team just overall gets better offensively, I think he can put up 15 to 17 points a game, especially with his catching ability. He only had 2 games under 10. He had 13 above 10. He had 3 20-point games. I don't think he was obviously he had a bad year for Le'Veon Bell, but it's not that bad of a year. I think he finished top 20. He has 16. So I think he might fall in the draft, but
I think that was going to be, if we did this, we were going to do a continued video, whatever. But I agree with you when I said Le'Veon Bell. I actually like him a lot. I like him as I don't know, RB. I think I have him RB 17, 18, one of those numbers.
Mhm.
But I think he's actually being slept on. I thought last year he was actually a bust. Like I wasn't gonna draft him no matter what first round. I didn't believe in him that much. But if you're getting him in the 5th round, if you're getting him as your 5th player, your flex, or even an RB2 if you have strong wide receivers and pair him with a strong RB1, I think he's a really good consistent player. Like you said, had 10 PPR points at 13 out of 16 games. So I think that's really good for an RB2.
Yeah. How many games did you say Josh Jacobs played?
13. 13 out of 16.
13. Yeah. All right. Never mind.
You're just talking about that. So I think that kind of wraps it up with this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, whatever. Send this to your friends. Get some good fantasy advice from my boy. Yeah, we gotta also come up with a name for this, so we'll figure that out. Yeah, that's really it.